Heyo.
Heyo.
Vegas, huh?
I was in Las Vegas with some friends for a weekend of gambling. It was great. I won essentially every bet I placed.
Wow.
It was just one of those magical weekends where it all goes right. You make all the money in the
49,
world.
49, off to a great start. Everything's going great.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I was completely sober for this trip because alcohol no longer works for me. And so it was great. I'd go to bed at like 1:30 and then just like wake up feeling fresh. One day I woke up and scheduled my kids. The parent-teacher sign-up came out at 8 a.m. And I was like, no problem.
You were ready?
No problem, babe. I know you're at home alone with the kids. I got the parent-teacher sign-ups. I was up. I was ready.
Nice.
Played a little Warcraft in my hotel room. Just,
Where'd you guys stay?
The Wynn.
Okay.
Love the Wynn.
You have some good meals?
With great meals. We went out. I think
what was the standpoint? What was the
standout, I think, was we went off strip to the Golden Steer, which is kind of like House of Prime Rib, but for Old Vegas. And they have more than just prime rib. Like it's a full steakhouse. And it was delightful. Really, really great.
Wow.
Really enjoyed it. And we had a nice day at the pool.
Play some poker?
Played a little bit of poker. I don't really have the patience for poker anymore. Because it's just like I don't know. You have to really like kind of be in it and like pay attention and like I was like, look, like I'm making way more money just playing blackjack out there in the pit. Like I could just go back out to the pit and and you also have to endure. And sometimes I find it charming, but sometimes it's like very tedious where you just have to listen to essentially the worst conversation of all time, but with like these knuckleheads that play like $500 buy-in poker at the Wynn. And it's just like, there was like, this was like verbatim. The conversation was like, man, stock market Friday, huh? It's like, oh yeah. It's like a lot of liquidity, big liquidity day. It's like, well, you're going to have more liquidity soon. That's how I'm going to play it. I was like, you guys don't, I don't know what the hell you think you're talking about, but I want to stab my ears out. So anyway, was that, it was great. It was great. I had a great time.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I woke up on Sunday morning, I think, and I had bought some Magic the Gathering game I played back in the 90s, right? Collectible card trading game. You ever played that one?
I've never played it. I am, of course, familiar with MTG.
Okay, so Magic, they are now doing all these different expanded universes, which basically just means they're taking IP and slotting it in.
Makes sense.
So they had Magic Spider-Man, and I bought a bundle, which is a box of 9 packs plus a box and other stuff for $83. I had never, in all my time playing Magic, I'd never bought a box of packs. It was not something that I ever did. And on a lark, I did it. And Sam and I sat there and opened up every pack, and we sleeved the cards into the nice Ultra Pro Katana sleeves. And then I built 2 decks, and then Sam and I played. And so we played like 4 games, and he's into it.
He's into it?
So, he's into it, yeah. And he's like mad that he had a mana drought, or that he had a creature drought. He couldn't get the creatures flowing that he needed to. And so it's like welcome to the party, Sam. Yeah,
that's how it goes. That's great. I'm glad you did that. I've got I'd like to play some games with my kids. They're about the right age. We could play some board games. There's some game
chess. We're doing chess too. Sam and I played chess the other night.
Oh, that's great.
Which was really fun.
Love that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Wow. So, hard pivot. We have a congressperson joining us.
I know.
Our first sitting member of Congress. Sarah McBride.
Love having Sarah McBride on the pod. What a day for us, and hopefully also for her.
Yeah. And who knew that she was into cinema and cinematography, and that she's a film
lover.
A film lover.
That's great.
What's her letterbox? We got to find that.
We got to find the letterbox.
We'll have to look for that. So we are just like super lucky. How did you hook this up? How did this happen?
Shout out to our friend Tanya Sominator, who used to work with at the White House.
Amazing.
And helped us wire this one. Shout out to her.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That is really fantastic. And so we put out the list to her to say, what do you want to do? Any movie you want. You could pick from the list. I thought maybe she'd take There Will Be Blood finally, or The Shining. But no, she chose Mike Nichols' 1996 gay cinema classic, The Birdcage.
The Birdcage, baby.
Yeah. Amazing film, amazing discussion, and we'll be getting into that in just a few minutes, as well as a nice sort of discussion of where we are right now and how things are going.
Yep.
I found it illuminating. But before we do that, Jason, next week on Escape Hatch,
what do we got?
The music's playing right now. It's Hoa Hoa season, baby. Rosie Knight returns.
What a run we're on right now. This is really the best run of the pod we've ever had right now.
It's pretty crazy.
This is it.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we are doing The Twilight Saga, New Moon.
Let's go.
You like this one? How does this
love
fit
this
for you
one
in the canon? Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't rewatched it yet because I haven't had time. But I love all the Twilight movies. It definitely features the greatest glow up in the history of cinema. Jacob coming in, taking his shirt off. Shout out to him. Really did the work in the off season. And so I'm excited to get into it.
Because this was the Marvel era.
This was the Marvel. Yeah. But he was young. He was like 20. Like, it's like, let's not describe. It might be natty. We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will see. So that is next week. We are going there. New Moon.
Let's go.
Can we do some quick Hatch news?
Hatch news from beyond.
So, I guess we start with Andor. I rewatched The Eye, season 1, episodes 4 through 6.
Is this just an impromptu rewatch just because you're in the middle? You're just feeling it because we're in the fascist collapse?
My dear friend Terry has never seen it, so he is now 1/4 of the way through Andor.
Is he listening to the pod as he goes?
No, because as I told you, it's spoiler-full, and so he can't listen to our podcast about it.
Okay.
Because it would be spoilerific. So, but we're having a great time. Amazing.
Is he going to listen to it later?
He better. This is the commitment.
This is how you get it. One at a time. We're one at a time in it. It's like Glenn Glary, Glenn Ross. You're like H is like the Shelleys. Just like I'm great in the living room. If I could get in the room with the guy, I could close him.
What's her name? What's her name? I can't remember.
Mrs. Havisham or whatever. Yeah, exactly. They're lunatics. They just like talking to salesmen.
Yeah. Oh my God. So let's see. Second piece of Hatch news. Slow Horses is back.
I'm way behind on that. I'm in like season 2.
What? Okay.
I like it. I just haven't gotten there. With Sir Gary Oldham. Did you see that that Sir Gary got knighted? Yeah,
he looked stoked.
Yeah, he was very humbled by it.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
Great to have it back. Great to see the film. Great to see the show back and having fun with that. Last piece of Hatch news. Timothée Chalamet's new film, directed by Josh Safdie, premiered with a sneak preere unannounced
I saw that.
at the New York Film Festival.
I saw that. And I saw one tweet that said it was Safdie's greatest work. Safdie's greatest work.
Quote, this is from one of the editor-in-chiefs of Variety. Marty Supreme is Uncut Gems meets The Catcher in the Rye meets Jerry Maguire, carried by Timothée Chalamet's best performance yet. I loved it so much.
Great. I'm excited. Yeah. I think I will like it. I predict I'll like it.
Many people have said career high performance for Timmy, which is wild. It's interesting because The Smashing Machine, Benny Safdie's movie, opened this weekend, and it did not go well. This is with The Rock playing a wrestler, and it made $6 million on a $50 million budget.
Was it just open? I don't think it was open wide, though, right?
It was open wide.
It was?
1,000 screens, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, well,
not good.
Sad. I think The Rock's in trouble right now. I think it's not going great for The Rock right now. I think The Rock brand is at a low.
I think so. Well, they thought it got a 15-minute ovation at and they thought it was going to be Oscar time, but I think it is not going to be Oscar time. It's going to be Timmy time. Timmy time. And I'll just say, like, let's get all the filmmaking brothers back together. Let's get the Safdies back together. Let's get the Coens back together.
I don't know if they're getting back together. I don't know. I've just sort of resigned myself that we're never going to get a Coen Brothers movie again. Like, that we're not going to get. Now we're done. What we got is what we got. It ends with the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, unfortunately.
I haven't watched that one.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Hey, let's welcome new member to the Discord, Samson.
Hey, Samson.
Welcome.
Welcome.
All right, are you ready to get into this conversation with
Let's
Congresswoman
go!
McBride? Let's do it. All right, well, Congresswoman, welcome. And I guess the first question, anything going on? We got a little government shutdown, some light passe comitatus.
It's never a dull day here. We are in the midst of a government shutdown right now, one that was entirely avoidable, but Donald Trump is incapable of dealing with anyone who disagrees with him. He wants yes men around him, and obviously he's been eager to raid people's health care. So it's resulted in us barreling toward and eventually entering a government shutdown because of the fact that he demands everyone say yes, and Democrats said, we're going to keep the government open, but we also have to solve the health care crisis.
Yeah, do they even understand? Like, where do you come down on the, like, what's the extent to which they're just lying about not understanding that the healthcare premiums will go up if they get what they want versus they don't actually understand what's really going on here?
So I actually think it's a little bit of both, and that's a good question because I think it started out that they were genuinely ignorant. The reports that I've heard from people who were in the Oval Office for the meeting between Senate and House leadership and the president, it really sounded like he had absolutely no idea, that Donald Trump had absolutely no idea, that he does not understand Medicaid or the ACA. And what surprised me even more was that J.D. Vance, who's the supposed sort of intellectual king of the White House, that apparently he was fairly subdued, but was asking earnest questions about the ACA tax credits and the timeline that he should have certainly known the answers to. So it does sound like, at least at the start, they didn't understand. Now, obviously, they've been educated and they're continuing to lie, just as they're lying about undocumented immigrants and healthcare.
Yeah, the J.D. Vance after the meeting basically came out and had this line that was like, oh, well, actually some interesting ideas were raised about ACA. And I didn't know how to read that as though it was like, did he really learn something in this meeting? Or is this what he's sort of signposting as their off-ramp for this, which is like, okay, we'll do some fixes for healthcare premiums and like have a big, no undocumented people will ever get $1 and you have to like, throw them out of the ambulance if they show up to the ER, section of the bill. And this is what we're going to try to steer towards as like our compromise position.
Well, right now, I think they're still pretty strident in not doing anything about this healthcare crisis.
Interesting.
I think they recognize it's a problem, but I think they recognize that it's a problem politically. I don't think they recognize that it's a problem from a human perspective.
Constituent,
right.
services, man.
I think they recognize it's a political problem, but I also think they realize that they probably don't have the votes on their side to do anything about it, certainly not unilaterally to do anything about it. But I think what we heard from J.D. Vance and Donald Trump after the Oval Office meeting was a genuine recognition that this was a problem, because I think that they had been educated in that meeting, which only goes to show you how much of a echo chamber and silo they are living in. That they are, when you get all of your information from Stephen Miller,
right.
Then you're going to believe that the United States is experiencing a massive invasion, that every single city is a war zone, and that it doesn't matter to extend the ACA tax credits.
Yeah, I was thinking about it yesterday. I was driving and just remembering those nice days of 2017 to 2020 where like there were actually people in the White House who were like, that's illegal. Can't do this, you got to pull this back, and it just feels so radically unconstrained right now. And even the idea of physically putting all these troops all over the country and saying that you're doing it to put them in Democratic controlled cities to try and punish. It's just, I don't know. It's really scary right now.
And that kind of leads to the point, which is like, there's been a message to electeds, to representatives and members of Congress, such as yourself, is like, oh, well, we need to fight somewhere on this. And so I guess, do you feel like the Democratic caucus is still unified in that belief? Like, do you feel like, how's the vibe among your peers, basically, in terms of now that we're in the middle of this shutdown? Like, does this feel like a fight that we're going to be able to hang together on to survive?
So one of the things we actually saw recently was that Senator King, who is an independent senator from Maine, who had voted yes on the budget resolution, on the Republican budget resolution last week and earlier this week, has said that he's actually considering going to no.
Right.
Because of the Republican stonewalling of any negotiations. Right. So in the Senate, there's a very real possibility that votes later today might be moving in a direction away from the Republican budget that already doesn't have the votes necessary to pass. Obviously, you all know that the Senate is such a different world. I can speak better to the climate in the House right now, and I think House Democrats are resolute and united. I think we are similarly to our Senate Democratic colleagues committed to reopening the government and doing it while we solve the healthcare crisis. That there is no reason why these two things can't happen simultaneously, and we have every reason to make them happen simultaneously.
I think that's great. I mean, I think that's a great answer. I think the bind that we've always found ourselves in since the beginning of the Trump term, these 8 months ago or whatever, it feels like, that the request from activists, the request from Democrats, the request from people generally is
stand up,
is just stop this, stop this. And the problem there is that you can't actually stop this. Like, this is, as a party not in power in any branch of government, you can't actually stop the thing that's going on. So the fight that you choose here, where you do have leverage, you hope results in a positive outcome, but it in some ways you don't get to pick like the terrain of the battle when you're not in power. You're going to have to choose. You're going to have to choose the power that you have. Oh, I think we picked up another. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
That's muted now. So I guess I'm encouraged by you saying that you feel that the folks there are gonna hang together on this one.
There is no easy button to your question and to your point. There is no magic wand that stops everything, and I recognize that people really yearn for that easy fix, right? If only there could be impeachment and removal, or if only you could filibuster your way to stopping all of this. But to your point, the reality is that when you are a party in the minority, especially in the House, but when you're a party in the minority, when there's a trifecta and when there's a packed Supreme Court that's letting the executive branch do so much unilaterally, unfortunately, there are only so many levers at your disposal. Obviously, budget resolutions that require 60 votes in the Senate, that is a lever. But the reality is that the biggest lever we have right now is public opinion.
Yeah.
We know that public opinion turning against this president even more than it already has, public opinion turning against this president on specific egregious actions that he's undertaking, that makes a difference. It might not stop everything, but it throws sand in the gears of their authoritarian machine.
Yeah.
And it ultimately lays the foundation for us to hopefully win the levers that we need here in Congress by winning the next election. But I will just say on this too, that this is a moment for us to focus the public's attention on this healthcare crisis. I mean, the letters that are going to be going out in the next couple of weeks are going to be doing that. But whatever comes, however this unfolds in the next several days and weeks, and God willing, the shutdown stops as soon as possible. Hopefully Republicans come to the table to find a path forward with us. We're ready and willing. But no matter what, the public has gained a deeper understanding of the fact that we are now living under Trump care in this country. That
Right.
we are already starting to see premiums increase. We're already seeing hospitals and health clinics closing. We're on the horizon. We're seeing the Medicaid cuts. We are already living under that fundamental remake of the American healthcare system that results in 15 million Americans more losing health coverage and everyone else having to pay more and wait longer to get care.
Yeah. We had problems before the big, beautiful bill, right? Like,
Right.
it was not, we needed more to be done, and running in the opposite direction is not helping us. I guess, so just the other question is, how do you kind of try and navigate when we have, as you called out, the Supreme Court giving a lot of room for these folks to run, this notion of this unitary executive theory that they're pushing so hard, right? Russell Vogt, literally just shutting off $18 billion to New York and $7 billion to California, and explicitly doing it so politically. What's the threat level that y'all are feeling right now? This just feels like this is so, it's different and worse than even I expected.
Yeah.
And a lot of people expected. How do you all think about that?
Well, on the one hand, it's exactly what they let us know they were going to do in Project 2025. And on the other hand,
Right.
It is still so shocking to see, and so shocking to see the speed and the brazenness with which they are doing it. I think for me, and for every colleague I speak with, there is a deep understanding that this is a 5-alarm fire for our country. I think when you're talking about the rise of authoritarianism, it's always hard to know whether you're at 10 degrees below the boiling point, or 5 degrees below the boiling point, or 1 degree below the boiling point, or whether you're at the boiling point and that's too late. That's the challenge in this moment. But we obviously have to recognize that everything is at risk. And I think for me, what that calls on me to do is to fight hard, yes, but to also fight smart. Because if you try to fight everything, if you fight on every hill, if you try to die on every hill, then you'll die pretty quickly in that fight, and you'll end up fighting on nothing.
Yeah.
And I think we have to fight hard, but we have to fight smart. And I think we have to recognize that because public opinion is the greatest lever that we have to engage in this moment with the ruthless survival skills of, say, an LGBTQ kid in Florida or in South Dakota who doesn't have the luxury in building allyship of prioritizing purity and perfection over goodwill and good intentions. And my feeling in this moment is, we've got two fundamental principles here: that working people need more help, and that freedom and democracy are good. And if you agree with either of those principles, even if I disagree with you on a whole host of policies around that, if you agree with those two principles, welcome to our cause. Welcome to our coalition, because we need everyone.
That's great. That's a tremendous framing. And I think the thing that also brings in mind is that we need to be willing to fight, but there needs to be we have to be willing to engage the fight without and talk about the stakes in a real way, without it just without it being like hand wringing and, oh no, the sky is falling and like this is just terrible and what are we going to do? There has to be a degree, I think, to your point about the LGBTQ kid in Florida, there has to be a standing up to the bully that uses the tools that are effective against bullies, whether that is derision or comedy or camp, or I think it is important that we engage with the right tone and not just have sort of a can you believe this is, because we've saturated the I just simply can't believe bandwidth in this country. So I really like that framing and that analogy there.
Yeah, it's I think there's so much that we can learn from the LGBTQ community and movement in this moment. I think there are so many lessons, because I think in some ways how this country has changed, and in some ways how this country has backslid on issues around LGBTQ rights. We have lessons learned about things that we can do better, and lessons learned around what really works. And what we know that we can take things that seem so impossible that they're almost incomprehensible and not only turn them into possibilities, but into realities if we are smart and disciplined and effective. I think sometimes people think discipline is weakness, or discipline and strategy means that you're selling out, or because in that discipline and in that strategy, you're inevitably having to prioritize, you're inevitably having to choose how to speak. And I think sometimes in moments where we are scared, we are so desperate for people to fight in ways that simply feel viscerally comforting to us,
right,
but aren't actually effective in growing the coalition. And I think, when you're scared, you want the comfort of someone preaching to the choir, but what we need in this moment is the courage to grow our congregation.
Yeah.
And I think that happens, one, through humor and joy and camp and love, and just like a welcoming spirit, an all or welcome spirit in that coalition. It's not going to happen by doubling down on some of the strategies of the last 5, 6, 7 years that, we've been screaming about Donald Trump's authoritarian power grabs and democracy at the top of our lungs, and that just didn't work.
Right.
And so we have to figure out how to combat those things, but how to combat them effectively.
Yeah.
You did this. You covered this so well when you were on Ezra's pod, and Ezra's had a tough couple of weeks here. But
the last bright moment before the decline.
But that being said, his central point of we need to actually get power and we need to actually find ways to wield power is an extension of what you talked about so effectively there. Looking at the situation with Seth Moulton as a perfect example.
I think basically you did too good a job on Ezra, and the thing that got lost was that like the job that you need to do as an elected representative and a politician who is trying to lead a political enterprise is different from the role of activists or writers or historians and people that we also need people who are shining as bright a beacon as possible to the personal humanitarian truth that they see and the connections that they see to their lived experiences. And probably the way in which you would engage if you were still, press secretary for, HRC or something like that, would be different than if you were an elected representative and you were in the United States Congress. And I think you kind of cooked his brain a little bit on that point. And it was like, oh, okay, like then it's just literally anything that we can do, like anything we can do to broaden everyone should be broadening the tent at all times. Which I don't think was your point.
I think I have long been an appreciator of the fact that the multitude of roles are necessary to bring about change. Now, one thing I will say that I do think we have to be cognizant of is because throughout history, we have had a dynamic where we've had a multitude of roles, and there has always been tension between those roles, right? I mean, there has always been tension, and one sort of role never often will speak ill of the other role, and there's frustrations, and everyone feels like everyone's making their own job harder, and I think that's inevitable. I do think one thing that's a little bit different in this moment is because of social media. The role that is perhaps more trusted and a little bit bolder gets to define the narrative within the community, and so what were sort of the gadflies become the guideflies. And you have people basically saying, I'm frustrated with the electeds doing it this way, which is fine, but because they're doing it this way, they are traitors. And then everyone in their own coalition starts to call them traitors for doing that role, which is a dynamic that we didn't really have in the same way in previous generations, because the conversations were sort of always housed sort of within family and within the community and within the sort of grass tops who were in tension. And now it all plays out on social media, and it creates the job of the politician and that role in change making, I think, a bit more difficult, because it creates less space for them to do that role effectively, because they're constantly being told that they're betraying the very communities that they're fighting to protect.
Yeah, I think to that point, like everyone loved your interview with Ezra, except for like a very specific audience on Blue Sky who was heated, like who was very, and And I think it goes to the point which you're making, which I often think about with social media and having worked on social media, which is that Twitter and short form social media flattens all context.
Yes.
And so the politician and the activist and the total Twitter anon who like has, no real standing or, like maybe a bot, all exist within the same, like they all have equal seats at the table, which in some ways was the intention of the platform. It's like, oh, this is great democratization. This is great, flattening. And there's some virtue to that, but it ended up being that we lost the nuance of there's different roles for different folks here.
Right. And I also always want to be mindful that even if a narrative develops online, that's not necessarily reflective of the community writ large. Like when I go out and I engage with trans people and the world writ large, it's not the experience that you would expect from Blue Sky. And narratives can still develop that permeate beyond social media, because while it's not reflective of reality, it can impact reality, that I think sort of impact the capacity for both of those roles to exist and for both of those roles to be pursued in an effective way, in a complementary and effective way, because of some of the corrosive dialogue on social media. But it's also understandable because it's democratized the microphone and people are rightfully very scared in this moment.
Right.
Of course.
And that's how it plays out.
Right. Yeah. And I think and that's always really important to acknowledge, is that this is legitimately a terrifying moment.
Yes.
And for everyone, and particularly the trans community. It's a dark time, but I think you've in this conversation you've already kind of shown us a number of lights to how to lead our way out of it. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And also remembering that a lot of people agree with us. Like we do. This is not what we're seeing. Is not what people expected when they were not wanting to vote for an extremely old sitting president. And we have the ability, and certainly the public opinion is showing that it is moving in the right direction for us to be able to do this. So, and we're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you. And I will just say on that note, not to belabor the point, but one of the things that is giving me hope in this moment is we do see that when we lean in and we talk about an issue and shine a light on it, we can still move public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we've seen it on immigration time and time again over the last 9 months as this administration, certainly on the economy and on healthcare, but even on issues that at the start of this administration, this president was polling very well. We have seen time and time again that when we effectively, with the right rhetoric and the right message that reaches people where they are, push back, fight back, and shine a light, that we can change public opinion and throw that sand in the gears of his authoritarian machine. And I think that it goes to show you, because I think what social media suggests to us is that we are so divided that persuasion is pointless, right? The algorithms lift up an engaged minority that are often the most extreme voices on either side, and it's easy because of availability bias to just think everyone, that's 100% of the content I'm seeing is either super far on this side or super far on this side. That must be reality, and so persuasion is pointless, when the reality is the vast majority of people are not posting on social media. And when you go out and talk to them in person, which I have the pleasure and privilege of doing as an elected official, you realize, there are real disagreements, but there's also a lot that we have in common, and that a lot of people who voted for this president in the last election, as much as Project 2025 was out there and as much of what he's doing right now was written down, for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, they were like, prices felt lower before, and democracy survived last time.
Right.
And so they took the chance, and they're seeing, like you said earlier, that he's unhinged this time, that he's unrestrained this time, and they don't like what they're seeing.
Different. Yeah. Man, well, may it last shorter than we'd hope, and get the gears ground up until we can get back in control. Well, we are so thrilled to have you here, and we wanted to have that, very real discussion about where we're going. And in addition to being a sort of politics and tech-oriented podcast, we talk about movies. And we wanted to talk to you about a movie that is, something that's a touchstone to you. So are you guys ready to get into this?
Let's talk about it. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. The Birdcage is the chance to learn that the differences which separate us are not as great as those that unite us. Armand and Albert are an old gay couple who for over a decade have operated Albert's famous drag cabaret show at Armand's successful Miami Beach nightclub. But Albert's insecurities about whether he is still an object of desire and attention are thrown into overdrive when Armand's son Val announces that his fiancée Barbara and her parents, powerful conservative Senator Kevin Keeley and his wife, are coming over for dinner, and that they will have to hide their relationship from them at all costs. As emotions run hot and chaos reigns at the dinner party from hell, can the strength of Armand and Albert's love bridge the gap and set them all free, flying right out of the birdcage?
So good. That's great.
Congresswoman, what was your first experience seeing the Birdcage?
So, I love this movie. It is gay canon. It is the perfect intersection of 90s and gay camp. And for me, it was personal. I remember as it came out in 98, I think?
96, yeah.
96. I remember at 6, 7 years old, I was a kid in the 90s. I remember going in to the little family, not Blockbuster. We had a nice little family-owned movie store in our neighborhood in a little storefront. And I would go in, Classic Video is what it was called. And I remember walking through, and the VHS for the Birdcage kept just catching my eye at 6, 7, 8. Because there was something about it. I was like, this feels... I feel drawn to this cover. But I didn't watch it, right? I was like, I assume this isn't age appropriate. I didn't watch it. But I had always felt drawn to it. And I remember every single week when I would be going to that movie store, I'd walk past it and it would catch my eye for probably 5 or 6 years as it went from new release to sort of the back of the store and just one copy left. And then I finally, in high school, watched it. And I was still buried deep in the closet at that point. Right. But it, alongside shows like Will and Grace at the time, were some of the first instances where I saw positive portrayals of queer people. Humorous, right? It wasn't sort of the seriousness and drama of Philadelphia or Milk.
Right.
It was just a joyful, humorous, funny, but loving family. And that was really a revelation for me to be able to see that and enjoy it. And to this day, I probably interact with this movie every week because at least once a week I'm quoting one of the lines from it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to a great note, which is that this was a joyful movie. That it wasn't this is it's everyone dies at the end. everyone there's actually AIDS is terrible in this movie, and it really wasn't until the 90s in which you got any of that in gay representation anywhere. It was either explicitly illegal for the great history of film to show any gay relationships. Then it was okay, you could show it, but only if everyone dies, either because they're vampires or they have a disease standing in for AIDS. And then it's okay, no, it's just going to be funny. It was it was right in this window when that was first possible. So that's great.
Yeah, so let's do just some before we get into the movie in detail. I just want to do some quick behind the scenes.
Sure.
So this is based on the 1973 play by Jean Poiret, La Cage aux Folles, and that was also made into a 1979 foreign film, Jason, featuring a soundtrack by Ennio Morricone.
Oh wow! He was banging him out back then, though. I mean, that like you show up, he'll drop you a soundtrack. Like it wasn't a challenge. You can get one in a weekend.
Exactly.
Like the James Patterson.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. It's like I got a crew of people working on these. There's no problem.
Churning them out.
Yeah, just ship it. It's fine.
Exactly. So Mike Nichols was originally the director of the 1983 Broadway adaptation, and we'll get into Mike later in more detail, but he was fired from that production by Alan Carr, who had started off as an agent and then became a producer and produced Grease, which made him, ultimately ascendant at this period. And so it wasn't until 1994 that he was able to get another bite of the apple. He went to Universal and he said, get the rights to this because it has one of the greatest comedy structures that I've ever seen.
Interesting.
They get it originally conceived with Robin playing the role of Albert.
Of course.
And Steve Martin playing Armand. And Martin didn't think that he could bring the camp, and Robin had just done Mrs. Doubtfire, so they decided to do Nathan Lane to come in as Albert, which certainly is iconic, as we'll get into in just a second. Last thing I'll say, budget on this movie, $31 million, worldwide box office, $185 million.
Wow. That's a big number for
the 90s?
queer comedy in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And a big chunk of that budget had to have gone to like Robin Williams and Gene Hackman. Like that was like a big part of that number went to salary for sure.
For sure. But
because the rest of it is shot inside one stage.
Yeah, exactly. Other things at the box office in March of 1996, Jason, Executive Decision, Broken Arrow, Happy Gilmore, The Postman, Dead Man Walking, Fargo, Babe, which like one of my all-time favorites, Bottle Rocket, and The Celluloid Closet.
Oh yeah, The Celluloid Closet, which we talk about a lot on this podcast because we've covered a number of the movies in it.
Babe still makes me cry.
Of course, every time. Pig. Oh my God,
it's a great time. Great time in cinema.
The 90s and early 2000s. I was just with someone and we were just reading through the Best Picture nominees from the 90s and early 2000s, and we're like, God, almost every single one of these is timeless.
Yeah, we used to make movies in this country. It turns out, like then because we cover primarily 80s and 90s movies, and it's every week we do the here's what else was out, and it was like, oh, like you mean 100 movies that are better than any of the movies that came out this year? Like it's just and like very few sequels.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
All right, so Congresswoman, where would you like to start? What's a point that really stands out for you for this film?
Well, first off, I'll just say this because you brought up Mike Nichols, and I'm a huge Mike Nichols fan.
Let's do it.
Right?
Let's go. Here we go.
He did The Graduate, and you can see actually some similarities, I think, in cinematography. It's slightly less creative, but there's some classic moves from The Graduate that you could see sort of homages to in this, some of the zoom outs. But he is so good at slightly different political commentary. I mean, you see a lot of very traditional political films, but Mike Nichols, whether it's this, whether it's Charlie Wilson's War, whether it's Primary Colors, which I absolutely love, they are such different takes on political films compared to the norm. I just love them, and they're often the smartest.
I couldn't believe how many contemporary, whether it was Bob Dole, like 2 or 3 references, Jeb Bush, Bill Clinton, Ted Kennedy, the younger Kennedys. Like it's just like absolutely steeped in it. But this was stunning as I was researching this. So Mike Nichols was the 9th EGOT out of only 21 who've ever done it. Emmy wins for Wilt in 2001 and Angels in America in 2004. Grammy wins Best Comedy for An Evening with Mike Nichols and Elaine May, who wrote the script for this movie and multiple of his other movies. Oscar win for The Graduate in 67. Tony Awards, Barefoot in the Park in 64. In 65, both Love and The Odd Couple. I don't know how you win 2 in the same year, but
you're good.
Plaza Suite, The Prisoner of Second Avenue, Annie, The Real Thing, Spam-A-Lot, and Death of a Salesman in 2012. 8 Tonys.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
Goated.
Yeah. He's real good, it turns out. Yeah, he's great. Very, very, very funny. Really knows where can do like the serious stuff, but knows where the joke is and everything that he's doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think underappreciated too. Like an EGOT, I mean, obviously, like he's getting the recognition from the industry, but his name isn't as broadly known as I think it's worthy of being known.
Yeah, totally agree. And very specifically, what he brought to this was a focus on he wanted to shoot this like a play. He wanted it to be kind of very flowing and really stay in the moment. Which I guess, Jason, my first point that I want to think about, like, let's just start with Robin. Like, when you're working with a performer like Robin, having it be kind of like in the flow and kind of keep running can be challenging, right?
Yeah, I mean, famously likes to do his own thing. We've covered Popeye on this podcast previously, which was, according to producers, the most coked up production of a movie ever made. And also, like, they had to completely redub all of Robin Williams' dialogue because it was too insane to all capture. They had to just ADR the whole thing. So I think like a very you look at like stuff he did like on Aladdin, where it's basically the story for Aladdin is that the script just has like Genie, and then like Robin Williams does stuff. Like they wouldn't even tell him, like they didn't even bother to kind of do the lines for him. That's kind of been the hallmark of his career, obviously. And this dovetails nicely into my first point, which was I was a huge Robin Williams fan in the 90s, loved his stand-up, loved, the run of movies that he was in at this time, including, Doubtfire right before. And I was just shocked as an audience to be like, oh, wait, he's like the straight man in this. And Nathan Lane is the funny one. It was really a surprise. It was a surprising flex to be like, no, I'm going to keep it restrained on this one.
There's nothing better than when you have a really, really funny comedic actor that does a serious role. The other Robin Williams movie that we did was Good Will Hunting, which is one of his finest performances ever.
Where were you with Robin Williams in the mid '90s, Congresswoman? What was your?
I was a big Robin Williams fan in the 90s. I mean, I feel like I grew up on Robin Williams, and Jason, what you just said was one of my big takeaways when I started watching him. And I knew Nathan Lane was going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's such a different take, because I had seen Good Will Hunting. By the time I watched this, I had seen Good Will Hunting. So I had seen serious Robin Williams, and then of course I had seen all of the comedic work. But to see him be the straight man in a film was a very different role for him, and he's still legitimately funny in the character. Yeah. He's got his own lines that are great, but Nathan Lane just comes in and lands this movie every single time. I mean, I love Nathan Lane, but I think this is his high point in his career, because I just think you can't match his comedic timing in this movie.
It's quite a task to give anyone's go in and go toe to toe in a funny movie with Robin Williams, and he somehow he not only does the funny, but he does pathos very well in this movie too, because you really Albert is presented as a ridiculous figure, but you end up really caring about Albert and the way that Albert has to navigate the space of this movie as it goes on. It's a tremendous pairing between the two of them.
And I think where he comes in the suit and sits down, and it just holds on him for like a full minute and a half or something.
Yeah, and
it's both tragic and hilarious at the same time. It's so effective.
Yes, one does want a hint of color. Yes, his eyes in this movie are just, they tell so much of who he is. And I think that's also the thing, is that this character, despite being the drag queen, despite being the person who, when, I don't know how much I'm allowed to, should give away, but when...
Oh, this is spoiler away.
Yeah. So when the senator and his wife come to the house, despite being the one who's putting on, quote unquote, a character, the reality is he's the most authentic in personality throughout this. Right? Even when he and the senator are agreeing about gays in the military, those uniforms, he's making these conservative positions, but they're actually his authentic positions as Albert. And that through line of that authenticity is so beautiful that despite how someone might look, despite everyone else sort of putting on a character, he was the anchor and the most authentic throughout the entire piece.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this scene that Matt references where he comes in the suit is a really tremendous bit of filmmaking, because we get a scene earlier where Albert's trying to play Butch, and it's for laughs, and it's like the thing with the pinky and like the, you know, like all of that, like that's like just very funny. They're at the cafe. It's like, it's just for jokes. The scene where he comes in the suit after everything that's gone on, and like, you know, Val has like basically tried to banish him from his own home so that, like, you know, he can't be there to like embarrass him in front of the Center's family, and this whole thing, like this scene is played so quietly. Albert comes in shadow in the background of the scene, and like sort of emerges and walks to the bed, and there's some reaction shots of Val and Robin, and they're clearly shaken with what they're trying to understand with what, you know, what's going on here and how are we supposed to react. And I don't know, because I didn't see this movie in the theater, I don't know how the audience reacted, but I doubt that was like a laugh out loud scene. Like I doubt that was like a guffawing scene, because it invites you to care so much more about Albert than I think you would have up to that point. I found it really a really tremendous bit of movie making in this one. I mean, really stood out to me on this watch.
Yeah, I could imagine just like nervous laughter at most.
Yeah,
Because-
silence, and then maybe some nervous laughter.
Yeah. Because he does even in that moment, right? They're able to land the line about one does want a hint of color.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
Like it's just and that's what it is. It's just so sweet. It's so sweet. Everything about it's sweet.
You know, he could suppress himself so far, but the socks, he had to draw the line.
Yes.
One other thing I guess I'll mention here, because this kind of brings in a couple different points of mine I wanted to talk about, was there's this tremendous interview that Robin Williams and Nathan Lane do at the time of the promotion of this movie with Oprah, where Nathan Lane was not out and was very concerned because, like, knowing Oprah, like, who's very direct and very, like, kind of wants to get personal revelation in her interviews, like, rightfully was concerned that Oprah was going to just try to out him in this interview. And in fact, she does. Like, she asked, like, you know, like, people wonder, like, how do you play these parts so well? Like, you know, you're really good, like, like doing this stuff. Like, you know, people are saying, like, are you, aren't you? You know, like, she basically asked him, like, are you gay in the interview? And Robin Williams swoops in and does like a Robin Williams where he completely distracts from the conversation and the point of the question, does a whole thing, goofs on Oprah and the way that she asks the question, this whole thing, and they move on. There's a really touching interview after Robin Williams died where Nathan Lane talks about this, and he talks about, like, just how Robin Williams was a saint and how much that meant to him. And it's just like, it's just such a sweet moment between, you know, of someone remembering their friend and like how they did them a solid in a vulnerable time when it would have been difficult for him to just take that on the chin in an Oprah interview. And I just really love that. I really love that aspect of Robin Williams.
That I had totally forgotten that, and I'm actually tearing up just having you mention that. I remember seeing that after Robin Williams died, and it's making me think about some of my own colleagues here, and some of the public kindnesses that they've demonstrated. That, like, no one in that moment really fully understood what I mean. In retrospect, it's obvious, but perhaps in that moment, people didn't understand that gesture of friendship and allyship that Robin Williams so beautifully performed in that moment. And I feel like I have so many moments here with my colleagues of really just sort of not only good allyship and friendship, but moments where people actually almost put themselves at risk for you. It's. Anyway, sorry, you got me worked up there.
Some of your other colleagues have not made it easy for you to come in there, and so it's amazing to see people stepping up to support you there.
Yeah. No, I work with people who would make Gene Hackman's character in this movie blush.
Yeah.
With how conservative they are,
Yeah.
or not even conservative, just anti-LGBTQ they are, and and that's one of the things that that I really appreciate about this movie is because, and it goes to some of the conversation that we were having earlier, but at the end of the day, the takeaway is that the power of our proximity is so profound that we can forge family, and in so doing change hearts and minds of people who not only are imperfect allies, but in some cases, not everyone, this isn't always going to work out, but even people who start out on the opposite end of something,
Right.
that the power of our proximity can even change their hearts and minds. And that's what this film does between the characters, and it's what this film and shows like Will and Grace did between the actors and the audience too.
Yeah. This is a point. This is a point I wanted to make as well, which was, and you touched on it, which was that Albert, in the scene with Gene Hackman at the end where he's playing hostess, is his authentic self. It is like, like he is not affecting a position in order to like make the dinner go wow. He legitimately is like, oh, gays in the middle of those uniforms. Like he's and like I think more importantly, like is expressing this view about traditional family values that really do matter to him. And like that is, it's why the movie ends with family. It's because like he is saying like, no, this is my family and this like legitimately matters to me. And there's an aspect there where the movie does a magic trick because this very non-traditional family ends up becoming the most traditional family. And part of that is, as you talked about before, like, extending grace to those who maybe aren't, who maybe don't feel like they would be with you just if you go by the box score. But that if you sit with them and try to find commonality, that there can be, some community there. I found that to be really remarkable, just realizing that, no, Albert is like actually a family values conservative in a real way here. Like he really does believe that like, there should be like, someone at home, like cooking meals for the family. Everyone should sit down at the supper table. Like there should be, like there needs to be like good structure. Like the family is the foundation of a good societal structure. Like that is like a deeply held view. It's obviously a very conservative, that is a, in some sense, a conservative, it is
conservative coded,
a conservative coded view. And the way that they take that on is like really, without it being a political film. Like this is not a political film in the way that even like Philadelphia is. Like Philadelphia is like more political because it's about, there's a court trial. It's about like rights. It's about, there's more expressly like kind of legalistic bounds. This is, more about value. This is more just about values and what it means to, have family. And I just really love the way they accomplished that in this film. I was surprised at how nuanced and subtle it was, given the time that it came from.
Yes. Well, and I mean, the politics are sort of, I don't want to say incidental, but they're sort of the MacGuffin for the actual story and message of the film, and in a way that is very different than even Primary Colors or Charlie Wilson's War or obviously other traditional films were explicitly political films, or other gay films or LGBTQ films that are, like you said, political. And I think that's part of, movies like Philadelphia and Milk. They come out and they are very good films. And Philadelphia, I think, has certainly, I mean, I remember growing up and hearing my parents talk about how much Philadelphia affected them. So like, I'm not here to disparage,
of course,
or diminish the impact of those pieces of art. But the reality is that I think the pieces of art that were most transformative for the community were those that were not explicitly or were incidentally political, and the ones that were comedic. I'm going back to that point, right? Like
Yeah.
Will and Grace and Modern Family have done far more for sort of a change in public opinion on gay rights in particular than any serious piece of art, a non-comedic piece of art that we have seen.
Yeah.
I was, when I was prepping yesterday with Victoria, your head of digital, she's the same age as my daughter, and for me, Glee, watching that with my daughter as that was coming out, and the character of Kurt, and what an absolute social sensation that was for people to have understanding. And for me, the part that was the most important of all of it was not just the positive relationship he had with his partner, but the relationship between him and his dad. And the idea of taking his dad and establishing that connection. He's just a regular conservative guy, but he loved his son and accepted him for the way he was. And I thought that was such an important and powerful thing that was really good.
Yeah. Also, Victoria had never seen this movie until
what a gift.
I forced her. Which, if you know Victoria, you'd be like, the fact that you have not seen this canon is very surprising. But I am glad that she has now seen it because of this conversation.
Check it off the list.
The young sometimes don't know their history. They that's why we're here to shine a light.
And I will tell you, there is being specifically my age in Congress is really jarring because everyone's either significantly older than you or significantly younger than you.
Yes. So on that point, what did you think? What did you think about the portrayal of Gene Hackman as a conservative senator from Ohio in this movie? How did that feel as a representation of the United States Congress on film?
I would say reasonably accurate for senators, is my sense.
Right.
They'd probably, I feel like their vibe is that you'd sit with them and almost fall asleep while they talked about the changing foliage as they drove across the country.
Was a tough one. That was
that was wild.
That was a really funny bit. I had forgotten that was in the movie at all. I was like, oh, this is a whole bit. Like they really gave Gene Hackman 5 pages to read about where the leaves are good to turn, and he's doing this like it is like like Hamlet Act 5. Like he's really doing it. Yeah,
he's all in that performance, and that also reminds me of Michael Caine as Scrooge in Muppets Christmas Carol, which is like one of exactly just 100% going for the Oscar in that role. But I would say what's different about House members are crazy. He's actually too normal and not hypocritical enough to be a member of Congress in the Republican Party in the House.
Yeah, it sort of makes you like the family value stuff. It feels contemporary in a number of ways. Like it feels like still like, oh, it's like the same animating principle. Like they're really just focused on this, like, what's going on in the bedroom stuff. And, so that felt contemporary. But it always does when you see like sort of like a really conservative Republican in like 90s, 2000s, you're like, I'd take those guys back like that. Like, can we get get Arnie them still around? Like Jeb Bush,
Gene Hackman isn't like tweeting slurs at me on X.
Exactly.
Wow, he's arguing about marginal tax rates.
Yeah, exactly. He just wants his taxes low. He just wants to go stay on Fisher's Island with the Jeb Bushes. Like that's, it's like fine.
I also love how mercenary his wife is. So this Diane Wiest, who to me will always be the mom from Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
And it's just like the iconic, nice, loving mom. And here she's so cynical and ruthless and setting things up and playing the game. It's a fantastic performance.
Incidentally, looked fabulous in the makeover at the end. Like it was clear, that she's had worn similar attire, but was very comfortable at the end of the movie, and looked like she'd finally emerged into who she was meant to be.
Yeah, you can tell that she was a repressed flame dame. That she really belonged. She was finally with her people.
She was there. She was where she was supposed to be. Yeah, it's great. The other one I'll point out in terms of political casting is the guy who plays Val.
Yes. Dan Futterman, who is 29.
Dan Futterman doesn't do a lot for me in the movie. Like I think Calista Flockhart really, you're like, okay, you understand why Calista Flockhart becomes Calista Flockhart, because she's just like luminous in the movie. You're just like, okay, she's completely compelling every time she's on screen. She has maybe 20 lines of dialogue in the whole movie. She's completely
31.
She's playing
18.
Listen, it was the 90s. We had different math. But Dan Futterman not really lighting the screen on fire. Someone in chat, Animal Mother, one of our voicemailers, pointed out in chat that he kind of is a dead ringer for a young Ron DeSantis. So there's a fun headcanon in the movie, which is that like there's a if you read the movie through that lens, it's very interesting.
Oh my God.
The performance is very interesting.
Oh my God. I would read that fanfic in an instant.
Exactly.
Wow. That's
amazing.
It's pretty strong.
I'm going to sit on that.
Sit with that for
Two other standout performances. Can we get into Hank Azaria?
Hank Azaria, my God. This can't be that far from when he's opposite Al Pacino in Heat, right? This can't be it's like 2 years, 1 year. 1 year away from him playing this part of Spartacus in this movie.
Atticus?
Atticus
Agador Spartacus.
Agador Spartacus. And doing the thing with the soup and all that business. He is opposite Al Pacino in the "she's got a great ass" scene. Like, truly, what an arc in 90s cinema. Has anyone ever had it better than Hank Azaria? My God.
Also, can we say what a body? Like in the thong, and like he was pretty shredded.
They didn't have Marvel trainers back then. All you had to do was just not eat.
I have to tell you, I have pretty good gaydar. Gaydar. And even when an actor is playing someone, but Hank Azaria, that man, he is such a character actor.
Committed.
He is so able to just authentically become whomever he is. He is the Daniel Day-Lewis of random side character bits.
I'm glad you said that, because like there definitely was a part of me which is like, should I be offended by this? Like, is there a part of this that's that is too much? But it's like, it's so funny. The part is so funny. And I guess he's never really he's fully in the movie. Like, he's not like, it's not like he is othered in the movie. Like, he gets to fight in the movie for the things that he gets to fight for. And he's obviously kind of ridiculously over the top, but it is a really amazing bit of business he's pulling off in this thing.
I feel like if the movie came out 15 years to 20 years later, it definitely, that character would have been canceled, but we're back, right? Wokeness is dead. So it's back on, it's okay again.
Right. It's okay again.
Yes. Also, Christine Baranski.
Oh my God. She
looked amazing. My God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That woman, I always forget she's in the movie until she's in the movie, and I'm like, this woman is Mother. I am such a Christine Baranski fan. The Good Wife. I mean, she's great. She's always just the baddest bitch. I'm now watching Gilded Age. Which I can't tell whether I love it or hate it, but I watch it.
That seems to be the common reaction from fans of the show. Yeah.
But she's that stoic, tall, I could punch you in the face and do a jazzercise at the same time woman in everything that she does.
I love everything about her office. Like the people who did the production design on Christine Baranski's office in this really had a vision for both who the secretary was going to be, what the tables would look like, what her interior office would look like, the art that would be off. It's this sort of vaguely fascist, kind of brutalist, fitness couture situation.
It's what I would imagine a sapphic fascist state to be.
That's perfect. That is perfect. Like the city-state of Lesbos, like took over, and just was a dominant political powerhouse in the Aegean for 25 years. This is what the head temple looked like. It's perfect. Yeah.
All the way down to the secretary is reading Nietzsche.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. No, that's right. I totally forgotten that when I said fascist. That's really funny. So they definitely knew what they were doing then. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's why there's so much both like the humor is so amazing in both how like it hits you over the head and subtle.
Yeah.
It's at the same time everything's like double or triple layered in its humor. Yeah. And it's just beautifully executed in that way.
So the execution is what I want to get into now. And just to put a button on that one, the production designer, Bo Welch, who did this, did, among other things, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Men in Black. So this is somebody who definitely has worked with heavy hitters. But Jason, I fired this movie up. So this was my first time seeing the film. And I fired it up. And this opening shot that is going across the ocean, and then it goes across the street, going through the street, and then goes in as the credits are playing.
Yeah.
I was sitting up at full attention.
Scorsese, eat your heart out. Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This movie was shot by freaking Emmanuel El Chivo.
Was it really?
This
is this
Alfonso
his first
Cuarón's
movie?
guy.
Is it like one of his first movies?
One of his very early movies. He had done Like Water for Chocolate and Reality Bites.
That's freaking crazy.
That shot, I had to go back and look at it again. There was 3 separate shots from the helicopter to a Steadicam operator, and then
oh my god, El Chivo.
Yes, and
you can see the subtle transitions between when you watch it a second or third time. You can see the subtle transitions, which I'm sure at that time
they had to. Yeah.
Well, you couldn't see it in the with the quality of the image back then.
Definitely not on the VHS that you got from
from classic video.
Yeah, mom and pop video. Yeah.
Definitely. And he said, Chivo said that opening shot was Nichols' idea and that he thought it was insane to try and do it. But that working with Nichols was the highlight of his life.
Wow.
And that he taught him about love for the craft and the actors. But the other shot that made me almost fall out of my chair is the soup scene. Robin comes out, and the shot starts with him pouring the soup into the bowl.
Right.
And then it whips up, and he literally follows Robin all the way around 360 degrees in one single shot.
Wow.
Incredible flexing.
That's really good.
From Mike and Chivo on this.
That's great. Wow, that was a surprise. Love that.
Good.
Yeah, well, and that opening, I'm not surprised to hear that opening was Nichols' work, because Nichols does, in so many of his films, he is a big fan of a sort of wide pullback. Right, the ending shot in The Graduate, the camera's stationary, but the bus is moving away, so it has sort of the same effect. Or there's an ending scene in Charlie Wilson's War, or near ending scene in Charlie Wilson's War that has a similar. But he's very known for a fly in and fly out.
Yeah.
Particularly at the start or an end of a film, and I just think, Nichols and the folks he works with are just, it's a masterclass, I think, of cinematography. Just enough creativity that you can appreciate it without it being distracting from the film, I think. And so I went to an arts high school, and I majored in film there, and cinematography was my favorite part of filmography. And yeah, it was a great Cap Calloway School of the Arts in Wilmington. Did 4 years of cinema studies, and cinematography was my favorite. And I actually fell in love with Mike Nichols there. Not having seen this, but I fell in love with Mike Nichols in high school as a director through The Graduate.
Yeah. So I was at a party, my brother's girlfriend's birthday party, and met this guy named Ben who was in finance, but in the early 2010s, he was an actor and was taking acting classes from Mike Nichols.
Yeah.
And ended up becoming his assistant. And supporting him through the end of his life, working with him on projects through Death of a Salesman and other pieces. He said that for the finale of The Graduate, like they were doing all these different takes with them kind of feeling relieved and like laughing on the bus and excited. And like Mike told the story that he kind of like yelled at them to get serious and be ready, and then immediately ordered action so that he caught their reaction of being nervous or scared or like, what did we just do? And that was the take out of all the takes they used. That was the one that he ended up using for the
accidentally got one of the best movie endings of all time. That's how you do it.
Time. He also said that there was discussion that when they were prepping for this, because he knew that so much improv done by Robin and Nathan, that they had them actually rehearse portions of it. But the story that Mike told them was that in the scene where Albert is doing his performance with the bubblegum guy and Robin comes on to motivate them and he starts going off, and this is the Fosse,
yes.
Madonna. Like, he immediately stopped him and he's like, stop, don't
Too much of that. Yeah.
No, he's like, just don't rehearse it, just wait. And then when the moment comes, you go for it. That one he knew was going to be...
that's like a classic Robin Williams bit, too. Like, Robin loves doing the Fosse thing. Like, there's 1,000 clips of him doing Fosse and, like, that whole thing. Because he's so physically gifted.
Right.
Yes. I was watching a clip this morning of him when he did Inside the Actor's Studio with James Lipton.
Wow.
And there's a woman who's laughing, who's like, everything he says, the woman is just dying at in the audience. And Robin is just like, is clearly like aware that she's like the audience. And he just goes all in to try to basically like make this woman lose consciousness from laughing. And he's doing all this stuff where he's slumping in his seat. And he's doing all this stuff where he's just like completely hamming it up. And but I think passes away. I mean, I think she doesn't survive. Like, she's cackling, like, to the point of distress. Like, when Mark Maron was going around talking about his like sort of roundup for coming to the end of his pod, he talked about how when he interviewed Robin Williams, he needed to do it in Robin Williams' house alone, because if there was even one other person in the room, that would be enough of an audience, and Robin Williams would perform for that person. Like, that would be enough of an audience that he would be determined to get that person to laugh. And so had to do it where he's completely alone, and that's the only way we get like this more intimate interview that he ended up getting.
Unreal interview. That
very
interview
good.
Is incredible.
Recommend that for podcasting fans out there. It's really strong.
April and I we watched last night. Colbert he had Lady Gaga on, and he interviewed her in The Bitter End, which is where she had started her career or whatever, and just the two of them, no audience, for an hour.
Yeah,
and that's a really fascinating. Colbert's an incredible interview as well.
Oh my God, I'm after his show ends, I'm ready for a Colbert like long.
Oh, it's happening.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Series.
That's going to be great.
Yeah. One of the best interviews I ever saw with Joe Biden was his interview with Stephen Colbert after...
Oh, really?
It was after Beau passed. I want to say it was 2016.
Yeah.
At the end of his time as vice president. And it was one of the most touching and personal discussions that I've ever seen. And whenever Stephen Colbert has interviewed himself, it's just... He is a profound human being.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah, particularly the way he talks about faith and the way he talks about grief. He's very very good. Yeah.
So good. Congresswoman, anything you need to make sure that we hit?
Any final points before
Any final point? Yeah.
Well, listen, I think for me, one of the reasons why I keep coming back to this movie is not only that in this time we need our own joy and humor to survive the day, but also, to be reminded of the fact that those superpowers that made our progress possible in the 90s and the 2000s on issues like gay rights, the humor and comedy and joy that we bring to spaces, the openness and curiosity we bring, and the willingness to engage with people authentically as ourselves, who may be different than us, who may disagree with us, who may hold positions that are deeply hurtful or harmful to us, that superpower of being willing to be uncomfortable but be proximate, we still have that if we choose to exercise it in this moment. And I hope for the sake of our country that we all let ourselves be Albert.
That's great. That's great.
I love it. I love it. Well, that brings us to our final question. As we do every week on the podcast, we ask, who would Tilda Swinton play? If you had to recast one role in this film with the icon Tilda Swinton, who would you cast her as?
I mean, Tilda can play anyone.
That's the point. That's
anyone.
the point of the segment. Yeah.
But I do feel like, I mean, and she can play any gender too, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do feel like Christine Baranski's character, she could
Oh,
just
it's really
nail.
strong. That's really
She could
strong.
Dancing.
nail.
Let's see her dancing.
Yeah. I kind of want to recast Callista Flockhart as Tilda just to see, like, see what she would do in there. I don't know.
How about Val, since we've already decided
I know.
that?
Yeah. Val has
yeah.
to go. Val is a bit of a dud. It would be good. Yeah. What about you, Matt? What do you think?
I mean, I would love to see her as Albert. Like, it'd be amazing to see her. I mean, going back to Orlando, right, which we haven't done on the podcast.
Oh yeah, we haven't done Orlando yet. Yeah.
But you know, she obviously can go both genders. So
Yeah. So she gets in a little bit of trouble when she does Asian people, like we've discovered. That people don't like that.
Yeah, I was going to say Agador, but you know, I wanted to try and avoid.
We've been trying to recast Tilda just as elderly white men, and that works out. That works out better for her, I think. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, Congresswoman, where should people be looking out for you? You know, in the coming days, what's the best way to keep up with what's going on?
Well, people can find me on all the socials. Rep Sarah McBride, Rep McBride on X, Rep McBride on Blue Sky, Congresswoman Sarah McBride on Facebook and Instagram. Please follow me. We've got some informative and sometimes funny in a cringe way videos that people will enjoy if they like camp.
I think this will come out after, but I think you're also doing the Bulwark Live event tomorrow, right? Like in DC. That should be really fun. I just want to commend you. I mean, obviously we're grateful to have you on this pod, but as a former digital strategist in Democratic politics, I'm very grateful to see elected officials such as yourself kind of out there trying to find people. I think one of the jokes I've made recently is that the only upside with all of traditional media now being controlled by right-wing oligarchs is that it will give Democrats no choice but to go to alternative media channels.
Finally.
So like by virtue of the boats having been burned for us, we must now go to other places, which I think is at least a way to ending up at the right strategy.
Always finding the silver lining.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, let me hit stop. Holy shit.
That was great.
That was fun.
You know, the problem, the challenge, the joy and the challenge of doing a podcast where the format is we always have a guest is, unless we're rebooking someone, you just never really know like how the vibe is going to be. But the vibes were high. This was a good fit. If the Congresswoman wants to just be permanent third mic or take over my job, she's more than welcome to.
Seat 1 could be available.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, what do you think? Should we do some voicemails?
Let's go.
Turns out, Jason, you will not be surprised to learn that our community cares about this movie. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Here is our first voicemail.
Baby, this is Lizen.
All right, here we go.
Hi, friends. This is Lizen. Break out your Pirin tablets and your dancing shoes. The Birdcage is such an important text, especially in how it helped educate folks like my parents in the 90s and onward on, yes, how fabulous and dramatic we queers are, but more importantly, how normal we are and how deeply we love. This is a hilarious film, a beautiful film, and God, it makes me miss Robin Williams. XOXO, Lizen.
Oh. Yeah, it made me miss Robin Williams too. I'm glad to hear from Lizen. I do think like one of the, we talked a lot about like in the episode like the themes of performance and authenticity, and I think it's like it is interesting, like it's a really interesting bit of business the film does like with Albert, who's obviously performing, he's as a woman, but he is the most authentic version of any character. He's the one who's not performing in the scene. Like, he's expressing his true opinions. He's playing his true role. He's true to himself in that scene. And it is like, the Senator Keeley, who's like focused on performing this version of like moral, turpitude, trying to convince people that he's not, that he's not a scumbag, but like actually, is just focused on the performance of it and not actually what it means to be a good person or, a good family person. Another aspect
he was also very horny for Miss Coleman. Coleman. Like, he was definitely very into her.
Also, shout out, they all perform not being Jews in this until the end. Like, it's like one of our best cinematic Goldmans, and they have to hide in the attic
really good.
for the last act of the movie. So,
oh my God, nice. Thank you so much, Lizen. Here is our next voicemail.
This is your brother, Animal Mother.
Let's do it.
Well, you can't say gay marriage. You can also say same-sex marriage, which for people who've been married is kind of redundant. Right, yeah. It's always the same sex. Oh, daddy, whoopty. Then they said you can call it a union. Then the union guys get pissed off. Yeah. Hey, Bobby, what are you doing? I'm fitting a pipe,
Hello, animal friends and animal lovers. Manic Street Preacher Robin Williams, a fucking precious Nathan Lane, and Gene the fun-loving machine get cracking on this ode to love without labels. It's a hoot watching two families on polar opposites of the gender spectrum having dinner together, delivering enough histrionics and performative trash shit to fill the schedule of a congressional hearing. Misanthropic feelings aside, we have a common humanity at the core of the many shapes of our great ape condition. It's a hard time right now being anything other than a putrid John Wayne / Joe Rogan wannabe. But we can still experience joy where we find it. Gene Hackman in drag sure makes for a refreshing experience if you're looking for starters. How's this for Guatemalanese? What's the best LGBTQ plus oriented movie you have seen to date? Thank you all. See you at Frisco. Get the change, you filthy animals.
I mean, why not? I have not rewatched it since it came out, but why not Y Tu Mama Tambien? Which I would say is not explicitly, but has definitely a pretty important element there.
Is the question what's the one we've seen lately, or the one?
No.
What's
best.
like the best?
What is a best?
We didn't talk about it in the episode, but when we were going through the litany of like great '90s gay characters who like sort of wait for it, relax.
Okay, sorry.
Were great '90s gay characters who sort of approached the topic of homosexuality or queerness with humor. We gotta give a special shout out to Gay Willow in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. When Willow goes, Willow's now it is complicated by the fact that a lot of people are unhappy with how that relationship ended up for reasons I won't spoil on this pod. That was a point of real beef and understandable from the queer community. But the introduction of Gay Willow was fantastic. So shout out to her.
Oh my
no
God,
shout out to Joss Whedon.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Man, I have not listened yet to Joe and Mal's.
The re-listen? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yet.
I need to get on that. Yeah, we also didn't talk about Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah. Terrence Stamp.
Another one.
Yeah.
But good stuff. Thank you so much, Animal Mother. Here is our next voicemail. Mr. Java. All right, here we go.
Wow. Wow.
How about you take my breath away?
Suddenly about once away, in lost in the one, but then you got me acting macho man, just trying to keep a hold of you. Here in the club we found our paradigm, our only chance for happiness. And if you act out now, I think I would die. I'll say it'll always be my baby, we can make it shine. We can make forever, just a minute at a time. More than a woman. More than a woman to me. More than a woman. More than a woman to me.
Amazing episode, team. Thank you for covering this one today. I love the Bee Gees. Also, do you have a great story about a drag show, club, something you've experienced that you want to share? Give us some sunshine in this story. Good night.
Amazing.
That was, yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Hit those high notes, my God.
I mean, I had the good fortune to attend Halloween in the Castro before 9/11. Before 9/11. And it's I mean, there might be gayer places in the world. I don't know. I mean, but it is pretty gay. And really good time. Really good time. People really loved to wear costumes. loved to turn out. I may have gotten like sort of lightly sexually assaulted. But you know, it's fine.
Yeah, it was friendly.
It was meant in good spirit. And yeah, it's a great time out there.
I've been to some San Francisco Pride parades were pretty amazing. Like that is quite an event as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also used to live basically a block away from Stonewall in New York City. And like that's another real happening time. You know, around Pride, or just Friday night. And so yeah, it's also a really fun neighborhood.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Thank you so much, Java. Keep them coming. Here is our next voicemail. The Truth Sayer. All right.
Hey, Alberia here for the Birdcage Truth Sayer. Before the Birdcage made him a household name, Nathan Lane was already one of the greatest stage actors of his generation, fast-talking, brilliant, and fully committed to the bit. But before his Broadway stardom, Lane was just a broke New Jersey kid with a good voice, a Catholic education, and a pressing need to be the funniest person in the room. Today's Truth Sayer looking at 3 stories from Nathan Lane's early life. 2 are pure showbiz mythology. 1 is the real deal. Time for the Truth Sayer. Number 1, he once worked at a Manhattan phone bank offering psychic readings under the name Madame Zelda. He claims he was fired for being too accurate and too Jewish. Or is it number 2? In college, he was briefly ticketed for busking on a PATH train dressed as Laurel and Hardy. He and a friend made $12 and got a summons. Lane later said it was totally worth it. Or is it number 3? He changed his name to Nathan after the character Nathan Detroit in Guys and Dolls because there was already a Joseph Lane in the Actors Union, and he figured, if I can't be myself, I may as well be a gambler. All right, which of those pre-fame stories about Nathan Lane is true?
I want to believe it's the Madame Zelda. I think the Madame Zelda is great. I want to talk to Madame Zelda. Have you ever had your fortune read?
I don't think so. I don't buy any of that stuff. I'm real like I believe that you can create like intention for yourself by doing stuff. Like there's maybe some value in that. And so like tarot cards and astrology stuff like maybe it can be used to help nudge your consciousness to do something different. But I don't actually buy real. Am I boring? Is that boring?
I mean, it's a little safe. I like tarot. I like the I Ching too.
I Ching I used to be into.
Yeah.
I Ching I used to be into.
The I Ching I think is the most interesting one to me. I'd like to have Nathan.
It's just iconic. It's iconic looking.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool looking.
Yeah.
All right. Here is the answer.
Stay Pat K, this is Corey.
Nope. Here is the answer.
Were you able to sniff out the truth about Nathan Lane? It was number 3. His birth name was Joseph Lane, but when the Actors Union said that the name was already taken, he reached for something bold, theatrical, and already in his bones, Nathan Detroit. Fitting that he would end up working at the oldest established permanent floating birdcage in South Beach. Here ends the Truth Sayer.
Nice performance. Speaking of Birria, he is like currently hanging out. He was just hanging out with David this morning.
Yeah.
Where is that? That's in Florence, or where's David?
I think it's Florence. Yeah. Yep.
Sending in all of his voicemails before he left.
The Uffizi Gallery, is it? Maybe, I don't know. Where is Michelangelo's David?
When are you taking the kids international? When's that happening?
Well, right now we need to. It is in Florence. It's Gallery dell'Accademia. We need a passport renewed, and the government's shut down. So stay tuned, I guess.
Okay. Fortunately, you don't need a passport to get to Portland.
Nope.
To get to Oregon.
You don't need a passport to get to Oregon. Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll see when the military shuts the border between California and Oregon.
All right, here is our next voicemail.
Hey gang, Kev here. Huge week we're covering A Certified All-Timer, a movie that practically raised me through endless cable reruns.
Wow.
The Birdcage.
Wow.
This is a movie about a guy running from scandal who, on the way into and out of hiding, learns a lot about the world and just a little bit, not too much, about himself. It made me think of our current moment, if I may. You know, now more than ever, I wish I could change the minds of people who I love, whose beliefs, I can't place them. They confuse and astound me, and they're stubborn. Just so stubborn, stuck in their ways. And I don't even mean about politics only. I mean about so many things. So Kev's question is, when's the last time you changed a person's mind? Or can you think of a story in which you changed a person's mind? You know, grab hold of a deeply rooted stubbornness, a wrongness, and yanked it from the soil of their mind. I can't, and that's sad, but maybe you can. All right, sending peace and love. Can't wait to hear this one. Shout out to Nathan Lane, who I saw in person with Mike Birbiglia doing a Q&A on Father's Day.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It was awesome. All right. Mwah.
Once again, it's Kev's questions.
I don't know if I can't think of someone thought this on a political issue or an issue or something like that, and then they thought something else. But I am now being old, in a place where people come to me for advice quite frequently. And I have had the happy experience of people come to me for advice, and then sometime later, wow, I didn't really believe that this was going to work, but I did this thing you suggested and it really changed my whole thing. And that's very gratifying. That's largely in the context of business advice and not personal advice. But
you said 3 years ago someone asked you for advice, and you said to tell your manager when you're in trouble.
Yeah,
that was your biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's been a good one. That's been a good consistent one. Yeah, go to your manager, ask for help. If you have a good manager, they should be excited to help you. And if they're not a good manager, you should find one. Yeah, that's been a good one. Yeah.
It's weird, man. I've known you since you were 43, and you're 49 now.
Yeah, I'm older now.
It's getting wild. Kev, thank you so much. I helped change Peter Kafka's mind on Andor. He was mid, and
that's true.
So
that's really your dedicated, your dedicated church. You're out there spreading the word of Andor, one household at a time.
Just gonna keep pushing it. All right, here is our final voicemail.
Stay Pat K, this is Corey calling from Austin, Texas, about the Birdcage. I saw this movie when it came out. I don't remember it too well. I know it was based on a famous French film, maybe even a play first or something, right? Okay, I gotta be honest, I didn't really get to revisit this. I was super busy this weekend, and I actually did get to go see One Battle After Another.
Wow.
So, holy shit, I need to go back and listen to the episode y'all did on that. So y'all have fun with this one, and I'm going to go check out the other one now that I've seen the movie One Battle After Another. But for this one, the Birdcage, who would Tilda Swinton play? Gene Hackman was a conservative guy, right? She'd play him.
That's
okay.
good.
Yes. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Woo! I miss Corey. I'd like to see Corey in person.
We're going to next month.
I'd like to see. That's all I want. I just want a little Corey time in my life. It's nurturing.
Yeah, we are 5 weeks out from the event. And
That's great.
Brian Mosley, who's guested on the pod like 5 times, is coming. He's flying out. He's flying out from New York.
That's
early
great.
So that he can come to the event. So
that's great.
Very excited. Jason, we did it.
It was a great episode. It was a great time. Podcast is killing it. We're doing great right now.
Strong.
We've gotten it out of the mud. We've gotten it out of the muck. Gotten that cart back on the horse, dragging the wagon across the line.
We got to cross the bridge. We got the truck.
Got to ford the river. Yeah.
Now we're doing it.
Yeah.
What do you have to plug?
Let's see. I guess I'll save it for the end. I didn't want to mention it when you hit me up about Vegas in the front end. Also in Vegas, I went to UFC. Which is the most MAGA coded event I've ever been to. Like Cash Patel was there, huge applause. Like there's a fighter who won. He's from Morocco, and he said, first of all, praise to Allah, and like the crowd vociferously booed and was very, very upset that there was a Muslim fighter who had won. So most MAGA coded event I've ever been to. It's like way more MAGA coded than like the NFL or like I don't know. That it's not close. A steakhouse. I don't know. But pretty good product. They got a pretty good product, man. They got like that. These guys beat the shit out of each other. And if that's exciting to you, Zuck was ringside. And like one of the fighters like jumped over to like hug Zuck, all sweaty, seemed very excited about that. Wow. But like it is like a legitimately, it's a pretty good time. I will say our enjoyment of it was vast. Like I'm pretty hype on it because I won a stupid amount of money betting uninformedly on UFC. And like we got a great underdog victory in the title match, so that like really helped the bottom line for this trip. But pretty good product, pretty strong. Would like if it wasn't a fascist adjacent enterprise.
Yeah. It's not quite the sweet science, and it's full of MAGA, but other than that, all good.
Pretty strong product. Like they beat the shit out of each other. It's pretty great.
Maybe we just let them all take care of each other, and then.
There's got to be at least one. There's got to be at least one liberal, there's got to be at least one liberal fighter in there somewhere. I was joking with my friend Ian. I was like, Ian, I think you're the only person in this entire stadium who has been to both a UFC match and a WNBA game. Like, I think you are the one person.
Oh, nice. All right. We did it.